We're going to talk about applications of volume. So we've got our volume formulas that we've been using. Now we're going to put them into a word problem format and use them to solve. So our first problem today, which has the greater volume? A square pyramid with a height and base edge length of 6 inches, or a cone with a base diameter and height of 6 inches? We want to explain our reasoning at the very end. Well, first thing we got to do is find the volume for each. We'll start with the pyramid. Square base pyramid means that there's a square at the bottom, and then you have your height. In this case, the base area is 36 square inches because since it's a square, the 6 goes for both sides of the base. Multiply it together, 36. Our height is also 6, and since we're finding the volume of a pyramid, that's base area times height divided by 3. So in this case, 36 times 6 divided by 3 gives you 72 cubic inches. Notice the units of measurement. Now we want to look at the cone. So let's start with the cone. Now the base is a circle, which means pi r squared. Since the diameter is 6 inches, the radius has to be 3 inches. So that means 3 squared, which is 9, times 3.14 is 28.26 square inches. The height of the cone is still the same. It's still 6 inches. So volume, base area times height divided by 3 means you multiply 28.26 times 6, then divide by 3. That gives you 56.52 cubic inches. So if we want to know which one is bigger, it has to be the pyramid. So once you've shown your work, and it says explain, you pretty much have shown it that way. A quick sentence will finish it up. Our next problem. We want to find the height of this right triangular prism. We know it's 1,440 cubic centimeters. Now we got to find the height. Now, volume of a prism is base area times height. So we have to find the area of the triangle, multiply by the height, which we don't know, and that should give us 1,440. Well, for a triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. So 8 times 15 divided by 2, which is 60 square centimeters. Now our height is x. We don't know what that is. So we're going to have to work backwards. That means I put 1,440 for the volume. The base area is 60 times x, which is the height. Divide by 60 on both sides. You get 24, which means the height is 24 centimeters. Our next problem. If the volume of a cone is 30 pi cubic centimeters, if the height is 10 centimeters, what's the diameter of the base? Well, again, volume is base area times height divided by 3. It's a cone. What we're going to have to do is plug in the volume. We have the height. We're just going to have to find some parts of the base. Now, base area of a cone is pi times r squared. We don't know what r is yet, so we have to leave it like that. The height is 10 centimeters. So what's going to happen is I'm going to plug it in, 30 pi for volume. Base area, I'm just going to put pi r squared, and then I have times 10 to the third, or times 10 divided by 3. We have to work backwards in order to solve. This means, if you see all this now, I multiply by 3 on both sides because nothing canceled out in the fraction. That gives me 30 pi times 3 is 90 pi. I'm then going to divide by 10 pi because I have the 10 that's by itself and the pi that's by itself. We want to get the radius, that'll help us out. When I divide that over, that gives me 9. I take the square root, since there's an r squared, and that gives me r is 3. But it doesn't quite answer the question. What is the diameter of the base? Well, the diameter of a base of a circle is 2r. So if I know what r is, I just multiply by 2. That gives me the diameter, in this case, 6 centimeters. So sometimes you can solve it for a letter, but you might have to do one little extra step. So make sure you pay attention to the wording of the problem. Our last problem that we're going to talk about. Decorative red mulch is to be spread 6 inches deep in each of the beds shown above. Mulch is sold in bags that hold 27 cubic feet. To the nearest cubic foot, how many mulch bags will be needed to be purchased? Well, if you look at the diagram, there's 3 rectangular, what we call beds, garden beds, and then you have a circular garden bed. Now, since they're spread 6 inches deep, that means we have 3 rectangular prisms. We also have a cylinder, basically. So you have a cylinder with a circle on top, a circle on bottom, and it goes 6 inches. Now, since if you notice in the diagram, everything's by feet, we got to convert the 6 inches to feet. There are 12 inches in 1 foot, which means 6 inches is 0.5 feet. We're going to need that to do some of the problems today. Now I'm going to start with the thin rectangular beds, ones that are 25 feet by 2 feet. Since we're 6 inches deep, that means we have a 25 by 2 by half a bed. That 0.5 is how deep it goes. Well, volume is base area times height. So the base area would be 25 times 2, which is 50 feet squared. The height is 0.5 feet. So that means the volume of the one on the left, say, is 25 feet to the third power. Now, if you notice, the one on the right is the same exact one. So I have the same exact information. So now I've got 2 of them done. I just had to solve for one, and the other one's pretty easy. Now I'm going to look at the bottom rectangular one. That's a 4 foot by 25 foot, and again, 6 inches deep, which is 0.5. Base area times height, because it's a prism. So that means 25 times 4, which is 100 square feet, multiplied by 0.5 feet for the height, and you have a volume of 50 cubic feet. Lastly, we have the cylinder in the middle. That's a circle with a diameter of 15. Now, this means you're going to have base area times height, because it's a cylinder. You have pi times the radius squared, which is 7.5 squared, since it's half the 15, times pi, which is 176.63 square feet. Multiply that by 0.5, that gives you 88.32 cubic feet. Now that means we have a nice grand total of 188.32 cubic feet that we need to put the mulch in. Now, since each bag carries 27 cubic feet worth of mulch, what we do is we take our number, divide it by 27, and that tells us about how many bags we need. Now, when you divide those two numbers, it's going to give you 6.97. You can't buy 6.97 bags. You can either buy 6 bags or you can buy 7 bags. So since we're going to have to use more than 6 bags, we have to buy the 7th bag. We don't have a lot left over, but we do have some. So if you make sure you pay attention to all of the applications of the volume, all these, especially this last one is an example you might see in life. So this means this is what your assignment is. Page 554 to 556, 1 through 11. Page 554 to 556, 1 through 11.